Hi, it's Book Learning. Today I'm doing a response to baldbookgeek's BookTube Pet Peeves video. And the one main thing I want to say is stop apologizing. So, in the past couple of weeks, as people have done their February wrap-ups, I've heard so many people say sorry in one way or another for the quantity of books they have or have not read, and the frequency of posting or an absence. And both of those, I want to remind you, you don't have any reason to apologize for. BookTube, unless I'm mistaken, is not your job, and no one's grading you. You should, in my opinion, you should just be making videos about what you have read, and what you have learned, and what you're excited about. And apologizing just gets in the way. I also hear a lot of insecurity apologizing. So apologizing for having an opinion, apologizing for having a preference, or apologizing for being human, like you're sick or you're tired or things are happening in the background, like my dog might end up snoring. But please stop apologizing. I say this as someone who knows what it's like. There are two recent books that I've read that really got to me because I saw my kind of crazy in the main characters, and it's hard to face yourself. So the first one was Planetfall. I forget Emma Newman. Planetfall by Emma Newman. And the main character is a very flawed but genuine person. And you learn more about her crazy as you read the book. And the other book was The Girls by Emma Cline. And The Girls is about, well, it gives voice to the young girls who would have been influenced by the Manson cult. And in particular, there's one main character, one girl, and you see her come under the influence of this cult. I could see the way that character is written felt so real to me, because what was going on in her head and the way that she was thinking about things, so similar to how I used to think. So I say stop apologizing, knowing what it's like to have that compulsion to apologize for everything. And I want to give a bit of advice. So we're in the period of Lent. It's a Christian period of self-reflection and personal development that falls between the raucous energy of Mardi Gras on the one end and Easter on the other end. So a few years ago, I gave up insecurity for Lent. And that was a huge thing for me, because I stopped feeling like I was doing anything helpful by giving up chocolate or sugar or caffeine or whatever, the typical things you might hear. For me, the point of Lent is to grapple with something that's getting in the way of you and God, and in a more secular terms, getting in the way of you experiencing all that this world has to offer. So I gave up insecurity in 2014, And I don't remember much about it because while I have a journal, I didn't end up writing a lot about it. But the next year, I wanted to keep it going, and I tried to tackle something even more specific, and I gave up apologizing. Apologizing, like I said, is one of those things that I used to always do. And having to notice how often I was apologizing in verbal communication, in written communication, in the way that I was deferring to people was really eye-opening. And I want to add that there are several apology archetypes, and this is from my journal at the time. There are several apology archetypes. I'm not saying you should never apologize. If you're being an asshole, you should apologize. But there are 3 apology archetypes that are helpful to be aware of. The sorry as thank you. So instead of acknowledging, and I'm reading from my journal, instead of acknowledging a positive trait in a person, such as patience, we acknowledge a negative experience and blame it on ourselves. So instead of saying, thank you for waiting for me, we say, I'm sorry, I'm late. Yeah, obviously you're late. That's not expressing the full feeling. You should thank the person for their patience. Then the second archetype is the sorry as a buffer. And this happens when you are trying to ease into a negative or an issue that's nonetheless a reality. So it's trying to soften the impact of a truth. Sorry to tell you this, but you suck. And then the third archetype is the sorry as a placeholder. And this type of sorry assumes that we should have communicated something perfectly, when understanding is a process and a dialogue. Or we take blame when someone gets distracted from our conversation or activity. So somebody asks you to repeat yourself, or somebody obviously wasn't paying attention, and instead of just skipping to what is needed to re-communicate that thing or communicate it in a different way, we apologize. And in each of these 3 scenarios, the apology, it just suggests, it projects a failure on your part when there is no fault. So I know that it's hard to get in front of a camera and put a video online. That's the big reason that I'm here right now on BookTube, because this year my Lenten offering is my shell as a super introvert. Just a very intellectually driven person. I'm always in my head. I'm always in my head, and so I struggle to get out of. I struggle to get out of myself, and speaking is not my strongest form of communicating. I still have to take notes and all that. So I get it. I know what it's like to feel that compulsion to say sorry, and I know how difficult it can be. But stop apologizing. You have nothing to be sorry for. We're all excited that you're here and that you're sharing, and do your thing. Do your thing, people. Do your thing without apology.